Suck it, tuck it, freeze it, emulsify it. What is the best way to get rid of fat? Let's talk about it. So I'm gonna start this off with a disclaimer. I am a surgeon, so I am biased in that way. If you were to go to a non-surgeon, they might have a different opinion. So these opinions are my own only and represent nothing and no one else, okay? But here we go. So I get asked a lot about things like Kybella, fat freezing, Sonobello, all these different gimmicks that we have out there that look at getting rid of stubborn fat. I say stubborn fat, so remember that liposuction is not a remedy for weight loss. It is never a remedy for weight loss. It is a possible remedy for stubborn fat and a possible remedy for body contouring. But again, it is not a remedy for weight loss. You will lose weight, but you should not lose weight using liposuction. Lose the weight first and get the lipo for the body contouring. But anyway, back to the subject at hand. So there are all these things out there that claim to be non-surgical in terms of getting rid of fat. You can freeze the fat. You can emulsify it with some liquid, right? And get it out that way. So let's really break it down and try to figure out what's the best way to get rid of the fat. I think you might know my answer, but let's do the work. Right. So Kybella is a very popular product out there. It was developed to treat submental fat, or that fat under the chin that gives you a double chin, right? And the idea is that you apply the solution into the neck, into the fat. The solution will break down the fat, basically disintegrate it, and the body will reabsorb the dead fat cells. You need more than one session for Kybella, and one of the disclaimers on the box is that you have to expect some degree of swelling. So I get asked a lot. I get asked a lot, actually. I don't know why this becomes more interesting than anything else, but I get asked a lot about what I think about Kybella. I don't like it. I don't like it. I think it's kind of a waste, and it produces, when it emulsifies the fat, it can produce a lot of inflammation and scar tissue that just seems to replace what fat it removed, right? So if you're getting rid of bulky fat, but you replace it with bulky scar, then you really haven't done very much. And most people complain they paid a lot of money for a session of Kybella. It can be upwards of $2,000 to $3,000 per session, right? Yeah, they avoided surgery. Yeah, they avoided an incision. They avoided anesthesia, but they didn't get anything for that money. And I think if you're gonna pay thousands of dollars for something, it should be worth it. I mean, maybe if $1,000 is like $1 to you, but $1 to me is still very valuable. So I wouldn't waste my money on Kybella. Next, okay, fat freezing. So there are many companies, in addition to the most popular one, which is Coolsculpting, that claim to remove fat non-surgically by freezing the fat, right? The whole idea is for Kybella and Coolsculpting is that you destroy the fat cell, right? And then the fat that is dead gets reabsorbed by the body. Avoid anesthesia, avoid a surgical incision, seem like great ideas. Coolsculpting, again, you need more than one session. You need fat that you can actually suck and hold on to, right? Because the machine has a little kind of adapter that has to actually suck onto the fat. And then you sit for an hour and get it frozen. I think, again, it's great in theory, and for those of you who are deathly afraid of anesthesia and an incision, then maybe it's a good option. But there is this thing called paradoxical hyperplasia, right? Where we're actually seeing that people who have gotten cryolipolysis are actually getting this paradoxical reaction where they actually get fat hyperplasia and not fat loss. that is a warning. And again, thousands of dollars, multiple sessions. Yeah, you avoided anesthesia, but it's gotta be worth it, right? And I haven't met enough people that have claimed for it to be worth it that I'm convinced that it's a good alternative for where I'm going with all of this. Sonobello commercials. Sonobello commercials, from what I've gathered, are just advertising for places that do liposuction, awake lipo, asleep lipo, whatever the case may be. But they're just centers where you can go and get the fat sucked and hopefully get good results. I don't know anyone who works at Sonobello. I don't know anyone who works. Yeah, so I don't have any inside knowledge about how good as a company it is, how good the surgeons are. I do believe there are some board certified surgeons who work for Sonobello, but again, as I've always said, you verify before you trust, do your own research. My favorite, liposuction. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not this like big proponent of lipo. I love doing it. I don't love doing it actually. From a surgeon standpoint, it's very boring. But from an efficiency, effective standpoint, it is the most efficient, it's the most effective. Do you have an incision? Yes, but the incisions are usually the width of my pinky. They're very tiny, just large enough for a cannula to go through. If you were to get segmental liposuction, you'd have hidden incisions behind the ears and one underneath. And so they're very well hidden. They heal very well. They're very tiny. And they can be rather efficient / quick procedures, right? Depending on how much you actually want lipoed. And because you're doing it in a controlled environment, it usually is very safe. Are there risks? Yes, there are risks for anything that we do in medicine, but I think the risks for most people are outweighed by the benefits. And so if you're going to get fat removed and you want it to be permanent and you want it to be efficient and you want it to be in a controlled way, in a controlled fashion where some of these other methods aren't as controlled, then I think lipo is the way to go. Now there's this question that comes up sometimes about if you lipo in one place, will you get bigger if you gain weight in another place, right? So if you lipo your belly, you end up gaining 40, 50 pounds in the future, which hopefully you're watching your weight and that's not gonna happen. But if you do you look big everywhere else but look skinny in your belly? Yes and no. So when we suck out fat, when we kill fat cells, there's no replacement of that fat, right? So you suck out the fat, it's gone forever in that place, but you still have fat cells everywhere else. And so yes, if you gain 50, 60 pounds, but have sucked out your belly, then the places where you still have residual fat cells will bulk up, and the place where you don't have fat cells won't necessarily, not to the same degree. What are your thoughts though? Have you gotten Kybella? If you have, I hope it was good. Have you gotten Coolsculpting? Leave your comments and questions below and subscribe. And as always, love you lots and bye for now.